This is a Black Nouveau web exclusive. This year's annual tribute to the Negro Leagues has become African American Heritage Night at Miller Park. That's on Friday, August 3rd. But there are other events celebrating Negro League players that weekend also. Dennis Biddle, president of yesterday's Negro League Baseball Players Foundation, joins us to talk about what else is happening.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Along with the Heritage Night game, that game is called Heritage Night because they're honoring the Milwaukee Bears. They will be wearing the Milwaukee Bears old uniforms that played 1923 in Milwaukee.
So the Brewer players will be wearing it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm happy to say that in 1923, Milwaukee was a part of this rich history, the Negro Baseball League. They only played 1 year, but Milwaukee still is a part of that history. This game is built around that historical era. The Milwaukee Brewers honor them every year. They bring players that are still living to Milwaukee. They would honor them at a tribute game. Then Holy Redeemer Church of God in Christ has the Wall of Fame. There they would be put on the Wall of Fame following the game that morning.
So that would be Friday or Saturday?
That would be Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. The honorees will be put on the Wall of Fame, which is located at Holy Redeemer Church of God in Christ. And
is there a cost associated with this?
The cost for the Brewers and the inductee, there's the Brewers, of course, you have to pay for the game, but there's no cost for the inductee ceremony. But I felt that in 10 years ago, we put a historical marker at Rose Park. And the reason we put there, that's where the Bears played in 1923. Rose Park is sitting right on the 3rd and Burleigh was the parking lot, Old Butcher Field. And we got a historical marker there thanks to the Brewers. We put it there 10 years ago. We never did anything other than just talked about it. I felt that, it's not many of us left, and Milwaukee being a part of that rich history, that we would start celebrating that part of our history, the Negro League, Milwaukee Bears that played in Butcher Field.
So you started this 26 years ago. Why?
I started because of no recognition. The players was not the younger players. See, the league started in 1920. It died in 1960. Those players in 1960 that were still living, some of them still living today. And that's most of the older guys are gone now. But there are 36 players still living today. I started the organization 26 years ago. It was 314 of us living at that time. And that's when we started putting them on the Wall of Fame. Now it's down to 56. 31 of them is 90 or more years old.
Wow.
So we're working against time. But some of these players that are living today would have been Hall of Famers had given the opportunity. They never had it. They spent their time preparing us, the younger players, for the Major League. And when I say us, I mean Hank Aaron, Ernie Banks, Willie Mays, all those guys were younger players in the Negro Baseball League, being prepared for the Major League after Jackie had opened the door.
So when I think about the Negro Leagues, I think about Satchel Paige, I think about Jackie Robinson and Josh Gibson, but I really don't know about the other players. How do I find that information?
Well, I wrote a book called Secrets of the Negro Baseball League. In this book, I'm trying to make in preparation and get it into all the school systems because the information here is what my young people should know about that part of our history that was swept under the rug, the Negro Baseball League. The older players left, they left this history with the younger players, things that happened before we were born. This is my second book. Third book I'm writing now, and that will close it out because the information that I'm writing about was handed down to me from the older players.
Now, you were a pitcher and you started when you were 17 years old.
Right.
You had this reputation or this nickname as the man who beat the man who beat the man. How did you get that?
Well, that was my second professional baseball game, which was pitched in Racine, Wisconsin at O'Harlick Field. I was pitching against a legendary pitcher called Gerald Lefty McGinnis. Lefty was one of the great pitchers in the Negro Baseball League. And I knew nothing about him. All I knew, I won the game.
Okay.
So the coach came over and said, "Hey, kid," call me kid, said, "You just beat the man." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "He's one of the very few pitchers to ever beat Satchel Paige." So they named me the man who beat the man who beat the man. That's how that happened.
There's been a resurgence of black baseball players in Major League Baseball. What do you contribute that to?
Well, Little League, declining of Little League. That's why we are taking on this task now. I felt that we were going to, Little League starts at 4 years old now, and that's where we're going to have a T-ball game to start this off at Rose Park. And the kids 4 years, 5, 6, and 7, 8 years old should go through this process because that gets them ready for Little League, which starts at 9. Most of the kids now, 10, 11 years old, trying to play baseball, never played before. I felt that if we start them out at 4 years old, younger, and so that's what Mr. James Beckham and I have came up with, the idea to start T-balling.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, it's been great.